King Kong Escapes would serve as the second and final King Kong film made with Toho. They would jump on the they would jump on the partnership wagon with King Kong for Godzilla vs. Kong in 2021, but this would be the last Toho Kong movie, period. The next time we're going to be seeing King Kong in this series will be the 1970 King Kong remake directed by John Gillerman. I'll be joined in that review by Epictastic Joshua, making his channel debut, just FYI. King Kong Escapes was directed by Ishiro Honda. We all know who he is by this point. And this is kind of a loose-ish remake of the 1933 original. It's loose at best, but it's a combination of the 33 film and the animated TV show, The King Kong Show. King Kong is living on Monster Island, and there is a nefarious villain named Doctor Who. Yes, that is really his name. And no, it has nothing to do with the BBC Doctor Who. I'll talk about that in a second. But Doctor Who creates a massive Kong robot who is called Mechanicong. And long story short, it comes down to Doctor Who, again, that's so weird to me, trying to control the actual King Kong with mind control, and it goes about as well as you could expect. So I'm sure some of you are scratching your head right now like, Doctor Who? What is Ryan talking about? Well, yes, the villain in this movie is literally named Doctor Who, and I looked it up. The first Doctor Who special aired on the BBC in 1963. King Kong Escapes came out in 1967. I'm kind of surprised that the BBC didn't knock down Toho's door like Monty Python's Spanish Inquisition style.
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition!
With a big old lawsuit. I mean, Doctor Who was pretty well established in pop culture by this point. How did Toho get away with this? I need to know. But regardless, he's one of the best parts of the movie. He's modeled loosely off of Bond villains like Ernst Stavro Blofeld, and just the look of this dude is just so great. He's got the hair, he's got the Dracula cape, he's so over the top, and it kind of works. I mean, with a movie about a giant gorilla facing a giant mechanical gorilla, this is the villain that you need. The basic conceit of this movie is Doctor Who trying to get King Kong to be his ultimate destroyer of sorts. And this movie basically consists of King Kong fighting a bunch of monsters. And not gonna lie, it's a lot of fun. The fun starts with King Kong facing off against a dinosaur, and it's great. Like, he literally, like, beats the dinosaur, and the dinosaur, like, bites King Kong's foot. And I'm just sitting there like, I see what you're trying to go for, Mr. Dinosaur, but it's not gonna end well for you. And it doesn't. And then King Kong follows that up with fighting a water snake in the ocean next to the island, and that is great as well. And then the final battle between Godzilla, for King Kong and Mechanicong is great, though I will knock points off for the blatant ripping off of the two fighting off on the top of a large structure that is eerily reminiscent to the end of the original King Kong in 33, where King Kong is swatting at the planes off the Empire State Building. That feels very much like a ripoff to me. Let's talk about the effects in the movie. They were terrible. Now, VFX work is very hard. I have seen demonstrations done of it on YouTube and other places, so it is really hard to pull off. And so with all respect to the animation team, especially at Rankin Bass of all people, it is not aged the greatest, especially when King Kong picks up this one lady. It blatantly goes from her in a rear projection studio, and the rear projection is way off, to clearly a model or a dummy of the girl in Kong's hand, to him setting her down on like a submarine per se, and it blatantly cuts to her going like, as if she was like just landed on the submarine. It's really bad. And then we get these ships that are blatantly on wires, and there are certain cases. I was watching this on my 4K TV, so that probably has a lot to do with it, but I could see the wires, and I was just like, yeah, you couldn't clean that up in post, y'all. Again, these are VFX from 1967. So we need to keep that in mind. Context of the era, this was the best that they could do. Yeah, it hasn't it's aged like milk in the Orlando sun. It's not good. I'm sorry. But this movie feels like it understands exactly what it's trying to go for. It is a gorilla facing off against a mechanical gorilla. This movie knows what it wants, it knows its audience, and it plays to that. And so I'm gonna give this a good rating. This movie was just a ton of fun. The plot is loose, the villain is suitably over the top, the effects are not great. Overall, it's a bit of a mixed bag, but I still recommend this. I recommend hunting it down as well. It's a bit tricky to find, but if you look in the right places on the internet, you will find it. What do you all think of King Kong Escapes? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to read what you have to say. And stay tuned for Wednesday, where I will be covering Son of Godzilla, which I have been reliably informed is the beginning of the end for the Showa era. This movie is not good from what I'm told, but I'm keeping an open mind. So see you Wednesday.